Hi, I'm Katie and this is Ornamentations 114, which is my official celebration to mark 10,000 subscribers here on YouTube. Amazing. Thank you so much. And appropriately for that, I actually have a lot to show you today. I have been stitching and crafting and creating across different areas. So I do have cross stitch to show you and some stitchy kindness, but also some super fabulous embellished wool applique. You're really gonna enjoy this. I have some beading, and at last I do have progress on my long languishing casket. And then we are going to end today with some truly incredible giveaways. I thought I had gathered some good things for you for the 10,000 subscriber giveaway, and then friend of the channel, Jackie Duplessis, sent a huge box of amazing things and just absolutely supercharged them. So I have some really great thank yous to offer you today in return for all that you give to this channel, whether that's watching, commenting, liking, and or subscribing. Thank you so much. So today is all about 10,000. Can't believe it. But we'll start today in a different place than usual with wool felt applique, because so many have seemed to enjoy my progress on my nutcracker piece, and I do have great progress. Quick recap for those of you who might be new: I am rendering this Rifle Paper Company card in a larger scale in embellished wool felt applique. So when we saw this last time, I had the stage scene done and I was embarking on the curtains. So I have finished the curtains. They look amazing. I'm so into it. Mine are a lot more hot pink than the card, which really skewed lighter and more coral, but I love it. I think it frames the scene beautifully. So I used a hot pink felt, but then I embroidered the swags like you see on the card, which I thought were a really nice detail. I laid the pieces out with and without the overstitching, and I thought that without it, it just didn't fit with the rest of the piece, which is so heavily embellished and stitched and detailed. So I embroidered every piece in red accentuate, in stem stitch and split stitch, I don't know. I did it. And then to the center curtains, I added sequins anchored by a 2mm round red crystal, just for some extra dazzle, and they really add a great finishing touch to the piece. The center present also has its missing bow. I have to tell you about this metallic braid. So this is a great color called 835. It's the under color, I think, is truly red, but it reads very pink because of the very high luster metallic on it. So this is size 12, this is a slightly smaller size 8, and if this had come in the more stitchable size 4, it actually would have been what I used for the detailing on the curtains. How awesome would that have been? But at the moment it doesn't seem to be available in size 4. So I used red accentuate instead, and whoo, it's looking pretty good. I love how the bright pink really frames the scene. The curtains are perfect. I love it. So the next thing is actually really the final thing, which is to add the embroidered arch. It frames the stage, since I'm not doing the orchestra pit, the audience, or the conductor. And then finish this into a stand-up decoration. So while I was doing all that very repetitive detailed stitching on the curtains, I was thinking about my order of work and really what the best way to attack the arch would be. I think I've decided on that, so I'm about ready to start that. There is a fair amount of work involved in that, so I may not have a finish on this piece to show you next time, but I should have some really cool progress, and this whole thing is just so sparkly and so crazy textured and so fun. I'm really loving this. I'm so glad that I didn't put this off until holiday and that I'm playing with it now, and I will be able to whip this out as a finish to display when holiday comes around later this year. And oh, as I said, I was enjoying this so much that as I was working on the curtains and thinking what a good time I was having, I decided to hit purchase on a pattern I had had in my Etsy cart for a while. I've always loved this, I just didn't really think I had the time to do it. And this is the fabulous pattern called Not Even a Mouse. It's by Crafts, and I will link all of this on Etsy. So she does multiple colorways, and so it's a little tiny mouse sleeping in an embellished teacup. Can you see how this is just everything? It's part of a larger series, and these are some of the other patterns in the series. I have already bought the pattern for Santa, which I can't wait to do. I also definitely really want to do the house. I love to design my own, well, design and adapt Rapho Paper Company designs. Do semi-original projects, but it can also really be great to get out of your own head for a while and engage with somebody else's patterns, and I do absolutely love these. So I selected as an inspiration for mine, so this is a PDF download. It does not come as a kit, although she does provide sources. We'll talk more about that in just a second. I decided to go with this colorway because it made me think of vintage Christmas. Also, I had some perfect things in my stash I knew that I could use. So this is my mouse, sleeping mouse in a fancy teacup ornament. She has you do a hanger, like a standard ornament. I actually mounted it on a clip so that you can put them on just the right branch and you can see the teacup and all of the detail, but you can also look down and see the mouse, who has an embroidered embellished quilt and an embroidered pillow, and he's got his little teddy. And then I really leaned into teal, pink, and green for the embellishments on the teacup because I love vintage Christmas. That's what this says to me. And I think some of you might really enjoy doing this as well. One thing I do want to mention about this. So she says in the instructions that this is an intermediate level pattern and has some advisories about that. I would say that if you have done my Theodora or my Crystal Dove, or if you've done any of the Chasuit Company more dimensional patterns, then you would be completely clear to go ahead and attempt Not Even a Mouse, which is just so adorable. The instructions are really well written, they're very detailed, they're step by step with lots of photos. The only thing I think some people might not love as much, so this is just as general advisory, wasn't a problem for me, but just so you know, she lets you pick your own colorway because she does do multiple versions, and so there's no this is this color of felt from this supplier and this color and size of sequin in this bead. She refers to it as main color, accent color, third color, etc., and then you're supposed to pick your own colorway. So there's no kit available and there's no exact instruction on exactly what you buy, but she does provide a lot of photos and tons of guidance, and the instructions are really well done. So I wouldn't hesitate to do this. I enjoyed it hugely. I did do a little bit of Katie sparkleness, so everything on this was pulled from Stash, and I added lots of metallic braid instead of using DMC. So if you've ever wondered how far does a spool of metallic braid go, I'm through a full spool of size 4 color 025, which is a great rich green. And what that got me is all of the embellishment on the big tree here, and then all of the detailing on my teacup. was about one spool, and I did lightly go into a second spool. I was also able to use one of my absolute favorite crafty funness, which is the highlighter pink Soie d'Alger. Since I don't use Soie d'Alger a ton, I don't get to use this color nearly as often as I would like, but this is 1033, as you can see. Back when I was a needle pointer, I used to bobbinate my threads, and that's on the pillow, which I went for hot pink and green, because yeah, I was really leaning into the vintage crystal. Don't you love this? Isn't everything about this absolutely adorable? So the decoration on the teacup does take a hot minute, and as I was doing it, I was thinking, you know, this is great, this is adorable, I'm going to be really thrilled to put this on my tree, but I loved some of the other colorways that she did, in particular the blue, white, and gold. And I was thinking, you know, you could make this just a little larger and it would be the most fabulous, just small decoration, you know, to set on a side table, or for example, a bookshelf, or just whatever. I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about it, and as I finished this guy, I went and enlarged the pattern by 20%. I put it in a bag, I set it aside on my desk. I was like, okay, I will do that for Christmas this year. I'll do that in November. Oops. I ended up starting it the very next day, and then I finished it this weekend. Oh well. It was really fun. As you can tell, I enjoyed myself hugely, because in addition to all the nutcracker stuff, I went and did this twice. So this is pattern size, and this is up by 20%. One of the reasons I did really want to do a slightly larger version is that I knew I would have room for some fun embellishments and a little more detail on the teacup that didn't work as well in the smaller size. And then he's got a pink and red quilt. I did bring more Christmas colors into the mouse and quilt than on her version, because I love red and aqua. I have a lot of Christmas decorations already that use this color theme. I know exactly where I'm going to put this. And since I know I will get some questions about this, where on earth do I get gold felt? I don't actually. I use a kind of mustardy color. You can see it right there at the edge. And then this is a heat transfer vinyl that I get at Michael's. I don't know the name of the product because I pulled all the packaging off when I bought it like 15 years ago. But you just cut it, you iron it on following the instructions to the felt, and then you can cut and stitch through it just as if it were a regular felt, but it is gold and it does come in other metallic colors. The one thing about it is that it's surface only, so here I've got this exposed edge. I'm thinking about what I'm going to do with that. I think probably put a complementary cord over it to disguise that. It's not normally a problem, so I use the same product for all the gold felt on the nutcracker scene. So when you're just looking at it, it looks gold. If you're from the side, you can just kind of see that mustardy edge that is my base felt. But this just looks gold. It's only really problematic. You can see how the trick is done when you're looking at a dimensional object like this, where you kind of need it to go all the way to the edge and roll over, and it doesn't. So I'm going to have to figure out a little tweak to disguise that. I've got some ideas. I just haven't had time to test them out, honestly, but oh, look at that. And I did a better job on this one because I skimmed the instructions the first time and missed a couple of the finer points. I didn't do all of the design transfer that is part of the instructions. I don't really need detailed design lines for this kind of embellishment, and it did mean I missed a few things the first time around, but oh, he's still so cute. So cute. And so since this is the ornament version, on this I actually stitched everything down. I did not use glue on these, by the way. She does take pity on you and call for glue in several spots. I'm very wedded to hand stitching when it comes to wool felt, so everything on this is fully stitched. So you can see my edge. Yeah, that's sewn. That is one of the places where she calls for glue. No, not there. Here. I stitched the quilt in rather than gluing it. So this is all hand stitched, and I did not anchor the mouse cuddling with his teddy, so you can actually take him out and play with him if you want. She suggested that as a detail, and it just tickled my funny bone. So oh my gosh, aren't they so cute? Don't you just die? So I really loved these, and as I said, it was all very well done and very clear, and I can't wait to do some of her other pieces, and then I'll put her Etsy shop as well as the details on the patterns in the description, just in case you would like your own Not Even a Mouse. Oh my god, he's so cute. Absolutely loved it. And so upcoming projects on wool felt applique once I finish my big nutcracker panel are the Santa Claus from the same designer. I love this. So vintage Christmas and so cute. And on this one, yeah, she has also done multiple colorways. I think she actually does these for most of her designs, which is really cool touch. And then I am also going to do the Cheswick Not a Creature Was Stirring. So those of you who watched my holiday episodes might be going, wait, Katie, don't you have that already finished and hanging on your tree? Yes, I do. But when I purchased the finished version, I also purchased a kit because I knew my mom would have to have one of these. She had the exact reaction that I expected her to when I showed her mine. So I was glad to have this in my back pocket, and she knows I'm doing it for her. So no spoilers, but I will be stitching my own version of Not a Creature Was Stirring, which is a patterning kit from the Cheswick Company. There will be a link in the description. I also did just a little beading since I saw you last, although not on my beaded basket, I wish. Hopefully that'll be coming soon. I was working on sparkler sticks. So I have not just the kit models, but a bunch of variations done in all of the colors, and some of these are part of the booklet, and some of these were just fun for display to see how you can take the general idea and build it out with even more crystals or slightly different shapes. So this is the one I call Stars and Sparkles, which uses the star-shaped pendant beads at the top. So fun, right? But as part of the release, I will be doing full kits. There's a link to my notification list in the description, and then the booklet will be released on its own if you have a lot of stash or if you missed a kit or whatever. And as part of that, I am creating a digital supplement on my website, which has tips for keeping the costs down if you are getting this yourself, as well as for alternate variations that I think you could do this for different holidays. I mean, like, it'd be really cool to have gold and silver for New Year's, right? Or, you know, any particular holiday to add to a dough bowl. Or the other, I think, really layup variation on sparkler sticks would be team colors. So I did my first Shark's Teal sparkler stick, which goes with Stars and Sparkles, to celebrate the great Canadian Olympian and San Jose Shark, Macklin Celebrini, and just the general awesomeness that was best on Best Hockey. Really bummed that Canada didn't win gold, but Mac was awesome. He is our shining star. So this is the first teal sparkler stick that I did, and I am going to do a full set to just celebrate the joy of hockey, and it's a great time to be a Sharks fan. Oh my gosh, Mac was amazing. Just fantastic. I mean, 19 years old and being on the nuclear weapons line for Canada. Wow. And not just being on it, rocking it. He was great. So this is my teal sparkler stick, and as part of the digital supplement, I'm chronicling the making of this. So I photographed, and then I've been writing down the process for this. So what did I buy, and what was my rationale in my buying decisions? What were my considerations and my process in making this variation? And that's to help you let loose with your own variations for team, holiday, different national colors, because red, white, and blue covers a whole lot of flags, not just the American flag. France, Australia, Great Britain, Czechia, more than I can name. Or you can take blue away, you've got red and white for Canada, red, white, add green for Mexico or Italy. I mean, national colors beyond just our own American red, white, and blue. But I love the idea of team colors, and I'm feeling very celebratory after best on best hockey. Isn't that so fun? I love it. So I'm going to do my next teal sparkler stick. These are really quick to make. I actually did this right after the gold medal game, and then have a San Jose Sharks set of sparkler sticks, which is gonna be so fun. And then another thing I have spent, well, considerably more time on than the sparkler sticks, which were super quick, was my casket. So I'm going to grab that, and we're going to recap where this project was before I show you my progress. Okay, so it's been, I think, about 6 months since we've seen this project, and what I'm working on is the back panel for my short flat casket style from Thistle Threads, which is an original design that is inspired by professional embroidery on gloves of the 16th and 17th centuries. There are some really beautiful examples out there which have inspired me. The interior of the casket, which is already finished, it was actually finished when I began my Flosstube several years ago. That's how long this poor project has languished. It is a beautiful, beautiful silk that I then over embellished with gold work and pearls and beads. And that's the lid. The interior is simpler. It's dominated by this gorgeous yellow velvet, and there's one of the casket toys I made for it, which is one of Jackie's mother of pearl pin keeps, only I used complementary colors because I knew I wanted it for this specific piece. So to recap where exactly I am on this, I've done both of the short sides on this casket, which have a central cartouche and gold work with a bird. They have the frieze, and then it's flanked by dimensional flowers. So that's the most recent completed side. And then the first one is this. Colors always look really, really weird in the light here. It's a little too harsh. This flower does not look nearly as stark, nor do the grains in life as it does on camera. This one never shows accurately. It's a lot prettier than it looks there. And so then what I'm doing right now is the back of this before moving on to the front. And so this, I'm going to insert a photo here, is where I was when I had to put this away, because what I can now tell you is that I had decided on stitching 2 versions of the Not Quite a White Work Drum, and ooh, that was a time-sensitive project if it was going to get completed before what turned out to be definite but was then likely shoulder surgery. So this is where I am now, and because I'm just getting back to this kind of work at my frame, it was a major aggravator before I had surgery, so I'm going very slowly here, and I am setting a timer and I'm doing 1 hour a day, but every day. And I think this is a great example of just how much you can do with relatively limited time, but consistently, because I have finished the frieze, which I had only just started to outline some of the leaves on this when I last did this. A new needle minder, by the way. How awesome is that? It's very dimensional. We'll get to that again in Stitchy Kindness. And then I added the greenery for my missing flower. I also added the lower detailing here and the mound on this flower. So what remains to be done on this panel is the bird inside the center cartouche, the needle lace petals for the flower, and then once I have done those, I'll be able to make my decision on extending the cartouche at the sides to fill all of this blank space. I've got a pretty good plan about where I want to go with that, but I'd feel a lot better about actually putting that onto fabric and, you know, being final about that decision if I'm looking at an otherwise complete panel before I lock myself in on that. So I'm pretty sure I know what I'm doing, but I'll feel better and know that it's the right decision when I'm looking at a complete panel. Like I just said, I said that twice. Having a day here, guys. But so far it's looking great. And then one of my goals here was that the day before my shoulder surgery, these greens arrived. I had known they were coming. This is like the fulfillment of a life ambition, these particular greens. They are more yellow than have otherwise been used on this casket, so successfully integrating them into the design so that they didn't feel or look tonally out of place was a task I was hoping to accomplish. And I think, yes, mission accomplished. They're definitely greener, but they don't look like they don't belong. And aren't they just luscious, 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 luscious. I have to show you my spools because, ooh, they got the fancy treatment. We'll talk about that in Stitchy Kindness, but hold please. Aren't they luscious? Don't you die. It was just the ultimate tease for them finally to show literally the day before my surgery and not be able to do anything with them and have to put them away and stew about them finally showing up right as I was about to go into a sling. So it was an awesome, awesome thing to finally get to use my long-awaited greens, and I feel like I have made good progress. So 1 hour a day over the last 2 weeks has really resulted in visible progress. And you know, if you've got a casket but you're intimidated by the scope of the project, just plug away with it and plug away at it and see how you do. I think you're going to be surprised at how far you get. I have, you know, the 1 hour a day for me thing is currently necessitated by my recovery from surgery. I'm trying not to screw this thing up now that it's been surgically repaired, but it's a good model for how you can attack a very large project, whether that's a casket or a sampler or anything else. If you just keep going at it steadily, you really do get a great deal done. So that is my casket panel. For the next time on that, I hope I am going to have fully completed the bird that will be looking at the completed center of the cartouche, and maybe even have finished this flower. I need to make my slips. I do know what the thread and the stitches that I'm going to be using. This one, like this flower, will be fully dimensional needle lace because everything else is flat. So that's my casket, and I hope that we are going to be seeing this regularly now that I am actually able to work on it again. Okay, and then I haven't done as much as I would have hoped, but it's been ages since we've seen it, so I think it'll be okay. I was able to get in just a little work on my mystery sampler, and look at me holding that up with both arms. So pleased with myself. Am I insufferable? I'm sure I'm insufferable. But anyways, so where we are, or where I am on this, is I have extended the green structure of the border just a little. I did that yesterday. What I actually need to be doing here is filling in the berries on the border, both because I need to be keeping up with the border, and also I think bringing in all that pink is going to help lighten the very large chunks of grass. I also need to be continuing to work on bringing that grass down, and then one of the things I have been doing is trying to figure out my choices on filling the parterres. So one of the animating ideas behind this sampler is that there are alternate stitches that are used, but they are optional and the design needs to work with them being optional. So for example, I've used Montenegrin stitch at the roof line to help give a little extra texture there. I've used rice stitch over 4 for the coins at the corners, rice stitch over 4 for the outlines of the parterre. And then I've got Smyrna crosses detailing the border so far, but they are all easily substituted with an over 2 cross. So you can kind of pick your own adventure on this sampler if it ever does get finished and released as a chart, right? So you can say, you know what, I'm down with Smyrna crosses, but I don't want to do the rice stitch, and I definitely don't want to intent Montenegrin, and it still works. So even though I'm using other stitches in this, when I make my design, and specifically color choices, they need to work with substituting full crosses. And one of the things I realized when I pulled out and started to fill in the grass on the parterre is that the colors were too close unless you were using an alternate stitch. I tested using long arm cross and just rows snaking back and forth. I thought the texture would be interesting, but honestly the rice stitch is more effective if it's just surrounded on both sides by a plain cross and the color was too close. It would have required using that stitch to show the detail, so that was out. And also I decided I didn't like the effect. I'm going to go to full crosses. So I need to test different greens. I think I'm going to have to go more blue green so that it very clearly shows, because you do want to see the detail of the parterre. Otherwise it's going to look like there's an odd green block floating in the middle of your grass, and nobody wants that. So these are the challenges of design. As Susan Stanley was saying on her most recent Flosstube, you know, figuring things out in an original design is often 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and that's kind of where I am with that. For the most part, I think this sampler is actually progressing pretty well. I can see the full design pretty strongly in my head. I think the concept works, but I just have to get there to the point where we're filling this all in and we're seeing what else comes in on the sampler. And then there will also be flowers in the center of the parterre, because one thing I would note about how this looks right now is that it's pretty boxy, it's very linear. That's going to get softened. Those elements just aren't present yet. So my goals for next time, I hope to be able to devote more time to the sampler, because I am at this point able to do longer stretches of stitching in hand, which is my technique on this. Hoping to bring the grass down to continue the structure of the parterre that's not finished, and to really get working on those berries, which is a whole lot of plans. So we'll see what actually comes out of that. Fingers crossed. And then the other cross stitch whip I have been working on, and again, this has been a 1 hour to a day stitch, but I've been making great progress, and that is Dr. Raven, the Animal Cracker by Stacy Nash, which I'm stitching smaller on 45 count and finishing as a Christmas ornament for my brother. This is going to be my March 12 by 12. And this is how he's looking. I'm using Soie Surfine. The full conversion will be listed in the description. It was last time, but I think this time, you know, I've actually got enough of the gray for the body in. You can see how this conversion is developing. It's on Legacy Linen 45 count Nightingale. And I would say at this point, I'm actually over 50%. So I think I'm on track to have a finish for March for the 12 by 12, just putting in an hour a day on this guy. And oh, he's so fun. I think my brother's going to love it. It's an odd choice for a Christmas ornament, but you know what? We're odd people, and I'm just totally cool with that. So Dr. Raven, Stacy Nash looks great, and it's just, oh, it's been so satisfying to be able to return to stitching in hand, the feel of the stitches in the linen as they develop, as they went on and on about last time. Cross stitching is really tactile for me, and I have missed that, so it has been awesome to be able to do longer and longer sessions of stitching in hand as I continue to improve. And then I also had another finish, not really stitching, but stitchy related, and this is another one of my mother of pearl pin keeps from Jackie Duplessis. So I bought a ton of them from her a while ago, just in this form, just the mother of pearl pieces, because she knew I would want to have fun with my own color combination. I've got tons of stash, so that's not a problem. And if you know me, you knew at least one of them was going to need to be green, and I was saving one of my very favorites. It's got this, oh my gosh, beautiful, beautiful detailing on it. So I saved one of my favorites for green, and this will eventually go in one of my caskets. I have had some questions about these, so I'm going to give a few tips on how I do the mother of pearl pin keep assembly from Jackie. So first of all, I use a Pellon non-fusible medium weight stabilizer. And actually, hold on, let me grab that so I can actually show it to you. Okay, so this is Pellon 884 cutaway stabilizer. I will list it in the description. So it's got some body to it, and that means it's stable enough to form your pieces. But by the time you fuse the silk covering to this and go through it, a needle can still very easily go through this, so you're not really having to jam through it. That's what I like about it. It's, for me, the correct weight. I don't need a thimble for this. So what I do is I cut a piece that's the exact size of the mother of pearl piece that I'm using, so you would need one each for front and back. And then I fuse the silk covering to it. You want to use a really lightweight silk for this if possible, like a silk shantung, taffeta, lightweight silk. The more bulk you have, the more you're going to be pushing through all the layers that you accumulate with this. And basically what I do is I use Misty Fuse to bond the silk to it, and then turn the silk edges under and then bond those in place. And that's exactly what I do for the lining on the pin keep tutorial, which demonstrates this whole process, except I'm using silk instead of Liberty Lawn and a Pellon stabilizer instead of Bristol paper. So I'll link that tutorial in the description because it's relevant. So you bond it, turn under the edges, bond it, and then you've got a very neat edged silk square to work with. Two of those, and then you cut layers of felt to go in between them. So your sandwich of silk covered Pellon, and felt should equal the width of your ribbon of choice. And then you just hold it all together and then whip stitch the ribbon to your silk sandwich. I use Soie Surfine for that so that my stitches sink into it and that they're not visible. And then once you've got your full silk covered shape with the edges neatly obscured by the ribbon of your choice, then you sandwich the mother of pearl on top and bottom of the whole thing, and you use double running stitch to attach it all and finish off the piece. I use a Versoix 080 for that because it's a tonal match to the mother of pearl, and so then those stitches really disappear. Okay, there we go. So the stitches really disappear and you're seeing the mother of pearl. Jackie likes to use a silk for the double running stitch at the edge here that matches the silk backing. That is strictly a style point. So whether or not you want to do tonal like I do or contrast is just personal preference. And then I finish it all off by sinking pearl-headed corsage pins into the edge for that final finishing touch. And then a couple just tips on sourcing supplies if, like me, you want to do your own colorways and provide your own supplies. Petersham ribbon actually works the best because it's really stable. Okay, I'm really poorly prepared today, so hold please. Okay, so Petersham ribbon, which is ridged, it's grosgrain but without the hard edge at the top. And the ridges provide natural fold lines for the point at which you have to turn under your ribbon to give a clean edge. There we go. Nope, nope. Oh, it's coming in and out of focus. I'm sorry, I can't help that. And then it's very stable, and the little loops at the top. Oh. Camera is just really having a day here. I'm sorry about that, guys. It will not focus. Anyways, the little loops at the top make a great place for your stitches to sink into. Silk ribbon's a little less forgiving, but if you use Soie Surfine and you go slowly and carefully, it'll work pretty well. If you're going to use silk ribbon, you want to use what's called a double face silk ribbon. A single face silk ribbon can be used. That's the fuchsia that I used on the heart pin keep I showed you last time, I think. But it's definitely tougher to work with. The double face will have more structure to it. It's easier to hide your stitches. That would be my definite recommendation. Like I would have loved to have used a Petersham ribbon for the green, but I couldn't find one that matched my silk. So I went to a double face silk. On sourcing, Britex is a great place to find both a great silk taffeta or shantung and silk or Petersham ribbon. So those are my tips on assembling one of Jackie's mother of pearl pin keeps. I'm going to keep doing them. I do have a couple more, and I also want to remake the first one I did, which was the tulip that's living in my green casket, because that I think is one of her best designs, and my finishing just didn't do justice to it. So I'm gonna redo that and hopefully have that for next time. I'm hoping to keep on doing at least one every 2 weeks, and then when I am finished making all of them up, we will have a finish parade, because there are just some beautiful, beautiful pieces that I have from Jackie. And I also wanted to show you some of how I display them. So as we saw, most of the pin keeps actually live in my caskets because, oh, they're fabulous casket toys. They're beautiful, and they're really quite simple and quick to make. Much quicker than most of the casket toys I have in my caskets, that's for sure. But I also have some of her more decorative pieces as well, and you've seen what I do with the thread winders. They decorate my dove tree. But I also have this sitting on my desk, and so what's in here is a bowl with some strawberries. A lot of these are gifts, so this actually, it seems to go. This was a gift from the lovely Beatrice. She made individualized ones for all the faculty at summer school in 2024. I had to check that one for a minute. And then I have some different strawberries that were gifts. The counting pins on this one were a beautiful gift from the lovely Teresa of Jersey Girl Stitch Co. And then this I stitched myself. This is by Scattered Seed Samplers. I believe it's called the Berry Thief Strawberry. And the chart was a gift from Jean at Sampler Symposium 2024, I think. And 2025? Oh, I don't even know. And then the berry pins were a gift that went with the chart. So I had to make that up because it was a gift from the lovely Miss Jean, and that goes in my little bowl of berries and stitchy presents. And then this is a Quaker style pinball that's based off a pattern from Amy Mitten. Oh wait, sorry, I just dropped one of the pins, gonna have to fix that. And then this was a gift from the lovely Dawn, who is a student. I see her a lot at attic events. And then to go with that, I have some of my mother of pearl treasures from Jackie. So I have some thread palettes here, and then I have one of her fabulous baskets in which I keep two more of her treasures. So I used tonal ribbon and bows to assemble the basket. And I really want to not drop any of these. So you can see that's the basket, which just showcases the cut work on her pieces beautifully. And then in it, I keep her leaf, mother of pearl pin keep with the tassel. And then with that is some of the Stitchy kindness she just sent me, and that will lead me into that. This is one of her new mother of pearl spool holders, and these are sized specifically for the wooden spools that Soie Surfine now comes on. Most of my perlé spools are actually plastic from the old spooling, so I pulled one of the few spools I have, which is a tonal creme, and then set it in my basket so I can enjoy looking at it, because I think her new spool holders are legitimately some of her best work. And she also has these fabulous new needle minders that are taken from the spool holders. I love them because they're so dimensional. I love the flowery shapes, really, really beautiful. So Jackie, as I mentioned in the introduction, sent this huge box of fabulous giveaways, which those are coming up. We'll get to that in just a minute. But with the note that she really wanted me to keep some of these for myself, which twist my arm, man, let me tell you. So that was just existential with struggle to not keep it all for myself, because I totally could have. I kind of wanted to, honestly. Trying to limit my picks to something that was fair was hard. That was really hard for me. It's so beautiful. How could you not want it all? So what I settled on was a needle minder for my casket, because my casket projects are very special to me. One of the perlé spool holders, as you just saw, and then I gave each of my favorite new greens a spool holder. They're so fancy. I just die. I need a more elevated stitching setup to display these, because these are just too fancy for my life right now, but I want to show them to you. And the thing is, even with all of that having shoomed for myself, there is still tons to share with you. So I didn't actually just bag all of the giveaways, so you know, still tons. And and tons of giveaways. So these are a gift from Jackie to all of us to celebrate 10,000 subscribers. And as greedy as I was, there's still tons. So if there's something you really have to have, screenshot it and send a photo to Jackie and she'll hook you up. What we'll do with the giveaways on the spool holders, because I've got tons for you, is I'll just pick for you. There won't be a selection. So if there's something that you're just dying to have, contact Jackie directly. So that's my stitching, finishing, and stitchy kindness for the episode. And with that, we are officially going to close with the giveaways. So I do have a qualification here, which is I have to ask US only on the notebooks and all of the mother of pearl. I know that's the real get. I'm so sorry, given shipping costs internationally as well as export restrictions on the mother of pearl. I don't want to go to jail for this, guys. So apologies to my international viewers on that. If you have a friend in the US who's willing to receive stuff for you, that would be fine. I have to mail these within the US, and that applies just to mother of pearl and to the notebooks. You're welcome to enter for the other giveaways. To everybody who is watching, you are absolutely welcome to enter for as many as you like. You don't have to pick one, because we have a huge number of giveaways today to celebrate 10,000 subscribers, and I can't thank you all enough for your support. I wish I had a giveaway for each of you, but the good news is I'm coming pretty close, thanks to Jackie. So we'll start off with the less impressive ones, and then we'll finish with the really cool ones. So the first is a notebook printed with some beautiful photos of the Britomart sampler, and it's fully ruled. I think it's 100 pages. And the keyword for this is sampler. Write all your ideas in, your whip list, your whip go, whatever. I love a good notebook, so to me those are great swag, but hey, that might just be me. And then another notebook is the fabulous ones I had printed for Symposium. I did have a few extras made for my own use, and this one is going to be keyword notebook, and the front shows a wonderful sampler. So these are both things that came to Sampler Symposium. And the back is a detail shot from the amazing All of Them sampler. And then the details on both are printed inside the back cover. And then this is also a very substantial ruled notebook. So keyword notebook for the Sampler Symposium notebook. And then I also am offering a fat half yard of Mason Linton's button box light. So I bought a whole gradated package at Sampler Symposium, as you saw if you watched that episode, but my interest is really in the darker linens for my Stacy Nash gingerbread house, latest version number 4. So I wanted to share button box light with you. So this is a half yard cut, a fat stitcher's half, not a linear half, and it's 40 count. So the keyword for this is going to be Mason, like the brand, and this is button box light, 40 count, half yard. And then another linen giveaway I would like to offer is a fat quarter 36 count of smoky quartz from Fiber on a Whim. This is the called for color, cut, and size for America 250 by Plum Street Samplers. I'm going to be stitching America 250 on a higher count linen, so I wanted to share the linen from my kit with you. So keyword for this is plum. Should have written that down. I wrote the keywords down for everything else, and apparently I just got so distracted by the awesomeness that is America 250 that I forgot one of the essential things. So then with that, let's look at the mother of pearl, which was all sent so generously from Jackie Duplessis. Okay, so the first giveaway is a set of 2 needle minders from actually the previous lot that she sent me. I have been holding on to these for my 10,000 subscriber giveaway, not knowing that I was going to get, oh, an ocean of mother of pearl. So this set is keyword basket. You'll receive 2 needle minders. The first is an engraved basket with flowers, and the second is a sunray design. And you can actually use the holes around the edges to park your needles and different threads. So those 2 needle minders are going to be offered together as one giveaway keyword basket. And then we have a ton of needle minders up for grabs from her new collection, and these are taken from her spool holders, but they're needle minders. So the keyword for these is minder, and there are several different designs. They're all based off the different spool holders. Sorry, I don't want to take all of these out because I really don't want to break anything. I would love to get these all to you safe and sound. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that I have got lots of these up for grabs, and so if you would like to enter for one, use keyword minder, and then I will draw several winners on this. And then the next thing Jackie, I mean, like, seriously, I'm going to be going on for quite a while. Next thing that we have from Jackie is a set of 3 bodkins, and the keyword for this is going to be ribbon. So if you don't know what a bodkin is, these are obviously highly stylized versions, but they were used to thread linen or to thread ribbon or lacing strings and then lace like through a corset or a dress or some other article of clothing. It's basically a fancy needle to help you get dressed, because lacing something closed was a very common fastening method in Europe for a good deal of human history. The zipper is a relatively recent invention. So the set of bodkins will be keyword ribbon. And all of this has been beautifully and safely packaged by Jackie and should get to you in good shape. And then we also have the small, sorry, can't. Ooh, that is in there. Okay, I can't take this out. The small spool holders that are sized to fit one of the wooden spools of Soie Surfine. I have 2 of these after I shooped one for myself, and so I will be drawing a separate winner for each. There will be 2 winners on these, and you'll get one of the mother of pearl spool holders for a wooden spool of Soie Surfine. The keyword on that is going to be wood. And then to really finish off the giveaways with a bang, we have several large mother of pearl spool holders. These fit any large plastic spool that on something that's distributed by Access Commodities. So they fit Soie Gobelins, Soie de Paris, Soie 103, Soie Surfine, Accentuate, Bijoux. Keyword on this is spool. So when you get this, make sure not to throw away the little plastic rubber band that comes with it. That's not just to hold the bubble wrap around it. So what you do with it is you wrap it around the spool holder itself before you put your thread on. So these just unscrew, and then you drop your spool in and then screw it back together. And what the rubber band does is it keeps this from rattling around. It keeps the spool holder in place. So don't toss Your little plastic rubber band. I actually did that on several of mine before I realized what those were for. Jackie informed me and I was like, oh wow, I'm an idiot. So that's how these work, and they are absolutely fabulous. Like I said, my stitching setup is not classy enough for these beauties. So I am going to show you all of the ones that are up for grabs with the keyword spool, but you will not get to pick. I will pick for you, and then it's going to be a surprise. If there's one, as I said, that you absolutely have to have, take a screenshot, email Jackie. So these are some floral designs that remind me of sunflowers. I've grouped them kind of by overall type of design. This one, oh, this is beautiful. This is the needle minder that I have, but as a spool holder. It's got this beautiful cut work. It's really dimensional. Love that one. It was actually a war not to keep that one for myself. And then this one's a little more geometric. And also geometric, but a little more detailed. Really cool. These are quite dimensional and shaped, which is one of the things I love about them. I think that Jackie's spool holders are some of her best products. They are just so cool. And we have this one. Sorry, these aren't showing very well. The camera is just having focus issues today. Oh, and this one is fabulous too. It's got these little indents and then very subtle engraving. So, spool holders, and we are going to have lots and lots and winners on these, and all of the mother of pearl fabulousness that was provided. Huge thank you to Jackie for her generosity. And oh, you guys are all going to be the beneficiaries of that along with me, because I did keep plenty of it for myself. Oops. So those are keyword spool for the fabulous large spool holders. And then I'm going to draw all of the winners for the next episode. So if you entered, make sure that you tune in next time to see if you won, because we are going to have a ton of winners. So appropriately fabulous, I hope, for 10,000 subscribers. Huge thank you to Jackie, who was incredibly generous. So for next time, giveaway winner bonanza, as we just saw, but I also hope to have some progress on sparkling wool felt applique. I don't think I'll have a finish on the nutcracker, but I should be getting pretty close. And I don't know, maybe even a finished animal cracker, as well as progress on my other whips, and we'll see how far 1 hour a day gets me on my casket for next time. So that is this episode, and I would like to close with thanking you all again for watching and for supporting the channel. It continues to amaze me that so many people choose to spend their time listening to me ramble on mindlessly about my stitching. Thank you so much. There's so much great Flosstube out there, I know, because I enjoy watching so many of these channels myself, and I'm always very, very touched that you choose to spend any of your time with me. So I hope you have enjoyed this episode. Please enter for the giveaways. I'm giving it all away, so you might as well enter. You could definitely be a winner. And I will see you again in 2 weeks. So until then, happy stitching.